What's up, y'all? Here we are in spring, or actually summer now, 2026. So I've been off on the videos for a couple of months now, but I wanted to check back in because I made some legitimate progress, and wanted to, make another formal video as opposed to just uploading my shorts with my physical progress. But I would say, physically, I'm still locked in, and I'm getting some good, progress made on, kind of a lean bulk and just keeping my calorie consumption up and my cardio down. I've made I think some good gains. It's kind of an intermediate advanced weightlifter slash bodybuilder. So the big update for me is that I think it's realistic that I might be able to do like an amateur show. At the end of October 2027, I think there's one in Colorado Springs. So I haven't really set any major goals since I quit endurance. So at this point, I think if I really push myself on the dieting when I get big enough, and I really cut it on my waist because my waist is probably one of the worst features if I'm legitimately talking about, being an actual, seasoned, or ready kind of show ready bodybuilder. I think a lot of other stuff is coming along nicely. When we talk about kind of the fitness side, before I get into other stuff, we talk about like lifting body parts and stuff and doing specific, techniques or exercises, or focusing on a specific type of rep to lift your body parts. I think I've gotten better at that. So I guess my update or my comments to anyone who's kind of a trying to get into more of an advanced lifting um, strategy or lifting method and approach. I would say that you want to increase your focus or increase your technique on at least one exercise per body part that you're trying to lift. So for me, it's been legs lately. I feel like my hamstrings have really coming along nicely, but my quads need improvements. For my body weight, for my size. If I'm looking at looking legitimate. If I end up doing a cut and wanting to like see how and I have an actual bodybuilder type physique in the future, I focused on like single leg extensions, combining. That's kind of how I built my hamstrings. So I do like a really tough set of like heavy weight kind of pyramid down, right, and then I get into like I just drop the weight and I go like one legged curls, left, right, alternate, and just kind of do like a kind of go by feel and just burn out in the last set. So it's one of those exercises where I've done a good job of like making 50 pounds feel like 250 pounds, at the end. So I guess I've carried that into like different muscle groups. So I waited to give any more content, so maybe this will give me a shot at actually getting some viewers and kind of driving some engagement, so to speak. So I got this cool background here that shows my back shot. So I think that's kind of cool. I can maybe start to market myself a little bit more. I got my templates, my diet templates. I had one of my clients actually had really good progress. So his goal was to like lose 30 pounds in 2 months, and to, keep lean muscle mass, and he achieved that goal quicker than we thought. So it took him like four or 5 weeks. So that's cool. Shout out to him. So but anyways, getting back to kind of the focus on kind of my update on training specifically. I'm in my 30s now, so I really need to focus on keeping my joints healthy and stuff, and getting back to talking about lifting techniques and actually building muscle the right way. That leg approach of doing like one-legged quads and more lunges and quad machine focus, and really focused on squeezing the rep and like getting a full range of motion ending exercise for legs. I feel like I've maintained flexibility. I've pushed myself on heavier squats and stuff, and I've always had a stronger deadlift than squat. But I feel like I'm going nice and deep on squats now, and I've really focused on the quality of the rep as well as keeping the weight heavy. So anyone that does good leg workouts, they know like that's the thing, is it's brutal because you're hyper focused on both like rep quality and keeping the each set intense. And I've always given max effort on leg day, but I feel like I'm getting more out of leg days lately, so that's been good. And then getting more into a little bit of the maybe the rest of the body parts that I'm trying to improve. I feel like my back's gotten wider. So I'll probably add in the thumbnail on this video. I'll post like a kind of my lat spread, my rear lat spread. I think that was horrible at the beginning because I'm trying to learn how to pose, and I had like a couple people comment on my shorts like, "Yo, man, good physique, but your posing sucks." and I get that that definitely was the case. But I'm trying to get some symmetry going on too. So I feel like my left side, when I did endurance, my hip was a little bit, uneven. So I'm focusing on like, getting my hip kind of realigned and doing some post workout stretches. But when it comes to like, not my legs, not really my back, like my shoulders, my front, my chest, building a better chest, keeping my midsection tight. I feel like I got a good midsection down to like my belly, area. And then if I just do some hard dieting and really focus on cutting out basically only drinking water for a couple months, I think I can really, fix that and take care of that. But I guess is when it comes to like filling the gaps, I think like anyone that's getting into like you've been training for, 5 to 8 years, serious, maybe 10 plus years, 20 years for some guys in their 40s that, have been doing it for a long time. Like, I feel like you get into this mindset to where you're thinking, well, I'm not really seeing progress, but I know I'm working hard. So that's kind of a tough place to be. So my message really is to like anyone who's kind of in my similar situation, like, find ways to, and I've made videos on this before, but just find ways to challenge yourself to like, fill these gaps, and I identify them kind of in an analytical way of like, okay, how can I jump up, add 10 to 15% of performance of intensity of workload to a specific type of exercise within a muscle group, right? So, I had that quad example. And then I think another example would be chest, right? So, what I've typically done with chest is I've gone like barbell as the first exercise. And I stick with that, like I've been focusing on like not cheating at bouncing the weight at all. So, anyone that bounces the weight on chest, your chest will not grow, and I think that's a pretty safe assumption. People already know that now. But I think another advantage to like maybe like filling the gaps or bringing in another kind of challenge on chest day would be I kind of go post flies. I finish with another incline dumbbell set to where it's almost like a paused rep, like a deep stretch. And that inspiration came from like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think it was in Pumping Iron. Like he literally did flies to where like that he's almost touching the floor on the fly, which is intense. It's insane, and obviously one of the best chests ever in bodybuilding. Still to this day, 50 years later. So like I focused on kind of like a deep stretch, kind of incline dumbbell as the very last, almost as like a finisher. So I talked about like one limb exercise. That's a way to fill the gaps, and even like more volume on one that's out of balance. So that's one good way. And then like on this chest example, what I've kind of fine tuned lately is like the finisher. So like getting the best quality, the right weight for like the best quality reps that are really difficult at the end, but like it's still decent weight. It's actual weight. It's not like 30-pound dumbbells for no reason. It's like, okay, this is a 65, 75-pound dumbbell incline towards like I'm very fatigued. This is my fourth or fifth exercise on chest, but I focus on the stretch. I control the rep. And I don't care how many reps I do. I focus on the quality of the finishing set. And anyone who's like not maybe saying I don't feel it all the time, or like I don't feel that pump, or my blood, it doesn't feel like all the blood's going to that muscle group, I would say particularly for chest, just focus on obviously starting heavy and then finishing light. But when you finish light, like go back to the repetition, the rep type that you started with. So if I start with barbell incline or barbell flat, I'm going back to dumbbell incline or dumbbell flat, and I'm not doing flies at the end. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not doing like the hammer strength machine. I'm doing like a actual weight that I need to control with a dumbbell that's going to force me to give quality reps and give 100% effort just to get like a decent set in. So if that makes sense, those are like kind of a couple like, technical updates for me. And I've been out of the game for a little bit with making these videos, but I think I'm on episode like 43 now. I keep them all on my account. So, still like an amateur account, but, I feel like I have plenty of, other stuff that I can provide and give to anyone that's, subscribes or watches these videos. So more to come. I've kind of shifted from the endurance stuff, back in 2023, 2024, and to like, these last 2 years and going into 2026, 2027, just more of like, hey, maybe I can actually do an amateur bodybuilding show. So coming from this perspective of like a family guy that's, in his 30s, never really took bodybuilding seriously until like, 4 years, literally I've only been like taking bodybuilding, like weightlifting only seriously since I quit endurance. So I'm 2 years into it. Right. So, I feel like my weight gain has been, pretty substantial. I'm right at 206, pretty lean. So if I can get to like 212, 213, and then do like a cut to right at 200 or just below 200, and then bounce back up and probably do a couple of cycles of bull cut before I'm thinking about, okay, maybe I'll cut to 195 or something to be, on stage with a classic physique or something, or just an amateur show. I don't know how they do it, but it's all about goal setting. It's all about, staying focused on a date, staying focused on a specific, gap to fill. Like I'm saying, filling these gaps is a way to keep it, fun, and keep yourself focused, because the mental side of what we do, working out pretty much every day, even when you don't want to, there's obviously clearly benefits to that. But getting feeling the satisfaction and getting the validation of, okay, I made this conscious decision to change my routine and I saw explicit results. That's something that's worth mentioning. And then I don't know how much of you guys are like, looking into peptides and stuff, but I guess I'll get away from like the technical weightlifting side of it, and then I'll go into a little bit of peptides and supplementation. I was on BPC 157, which definitely works for joints and recovery. I got off of that and I felt a slight difference. I noticed like my right knee is always giving me issues. That's kind of flaring back up again. My wrist, I do boxing, so I think perhaps my wrist and my joints. I had to buy tape for hitting the bag because I feel like I'm hitting the bag a little bit harder now, which is good. Better technique, better performance. So I had to buy some tape, and then I was feeling that a little bit, but I got back on. I think it's DS 185. So it's a really good muscle recovery peptide. So I would encourage you, as long as it's safe, as long as they're tested, it's a good company. I would encourage anyone to get on peptides and pretty much stay on them. Maybe cycle off a little bit if you're taking a lot of supplements, just so you don't tax your kidneys. But I keep my stack pretty straightforward, pretty basic. D3, K2, iron, because I used to be iron deficient when I was in endurance. B12, so vitamin B, zinc, magnesium if you need. But yeah, I mean, on the diet side, I initially, when I started, I made some pretty good diet. I feel like I gave some pretty good diet information, and I do these templates. Like I said, I know how to treat how to deal with my own diet. I'm relatively disciplined these days. I am trying to put weight on and do a lean bulk, so there's going to be things that when I actually do a hard diet, I'm going to take them out. But when I get to that point, maybe after Christmas or maybe at the beginning of 2027, I think if I'm big enough, if I'm get past that 210 benchmark and get into the 212, 213 range, I can maybe have some content that focuses on an actual diet and track that. So almost like a vlog type thing. But yeah, I guess I'll keep it there for this one. Keep it relatively short, but good to be back on this schedule, and I'll be pushing out another video, the next week or two. So stay posted and keep tracking me on my shorts. So I think over time it's pretty decent, track record of kind of going from skinnier and endurance now to getting bigger and bigger by the week, by the month. So keep an eye on that stuff too. But nice chatting with you guys. We'll talk later. Bye.